Good morning, everybody. You may be thinking, what the heck does this video have to do with nutrition? And if you're having difficulty seeing the correlation between the two, then you need to hear this more than you may think. Okay, so again, I love this video. It shows up on YouTube and other places in different manifestations, but I thought that this was a really brilliant kind of production of it, and it hits home, right? We have a tendency to overcomplicate things. We have a tendency to, misallocate. And you've probably heard me say this several times, there's no such thing as unhealthy food. There's just the misappropriation of it. We all have the same 24 hours of the day. We're all born with a certain and relatively, unilateral or level of health, but it's what we do with it and how we disperse that I think is one of the biggest issues that we're dealing with today. People that I work with, it's just neglect. It's misappropriation, on all counts. The scourge of today in regards to, obesity, diabetes, cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's, like these chronic diseases, they manifest themselves because of chronic neglect. The fact that we're deprioritizing ourselves, we're putting things in place in the wrong order. So this leads me into this, and this won't be a long one today. I'm going to get right to the point. This leads me to the jar analogy. Right? If you put the sand in first and then try and put the golf balls in, it's not going to work. If you put the rocks in first and then try and put the golf balls in, if you put the beer in first and then try and put, right? There's a specific order, and we're all given the same components. We all have the golf balls, the rocks, the sand, and the beer. All right? Everybody's got access to this stuff in some way. Right? We may have to look for these things. The golf balls might be in the closet, but they're there. They're there for every single one of us. And if we can learn to put them in our jars properly, then everything fits. Right? And it's this neat and tidy package, and it's not frustrating. It's not, inflammatory. All right? So that's the one half of it. The other half is leading into this topic that I'm discussing with my with the private Facebook group, the educational group, in regards to macros. Okay, so I work with so many individuals that are so concerned about the vitamins and minerals and organic nature, whether it was free range or whether it was, if it had a natural death. All of these things, they're focusing on the little things. And they're not paying attention to the fact that, the fact that you eat free-range chicken, how much of it do you eat? Do you eat enough of it? Do you eat it frequently enough? Right? This is the part that baffles me, is everybody's so concerned about the quality of their food that they're not seeing the quality of their food. They're misplacing or misappropriating the micro and taking it in priority over the macro. Right? If we can understand how to use the food that we have available, those macro ingredients, those macronutrients, those are the big parts. Those are the golf balls. The rocks, the sand, the beer, all that stuff is different. Like the rocks would represent, the vitamins and minerals. How micro dense is this macro food, right? The sand would be whether or not it was organic, right? And then the beer, that represents this junk food that everybody is so scared of. Oh my God, Neil, Christmas is coming. It's going to make me morbidly obese and diabetic and give me cancer. Like it's definitely the holidays and the weekends that are killing us, right? Or, it's the smoking and the drinking. And, as a nutritionist of more than 20 years, guys, and working with more people than I think anybody in North America has possibly worked with, I'm telling you that's not the case. There's millions of people out there that, drink and smoke, but they do so many other things well. They relax. They, spend time with loved ones. They walk daily. They exist in their life. The golf balls are in the jar, right? And there's place for the beer, So that jar, that parable, that is so incredibly important, guys. We have to start paying attention to this. It's got very little to do with the science these days, right? You have access to everything I have access to as a nutritionist. You have all that information. It's getting to know how to put those pieces together, how to put all of the material in the jar so that it fits, so they're not leaving anything out and feeling deprived and denied and depressed and anxious, So I guess that's what today's daily insight is about. Is really, guys, take a look at that jar, and sometimes you got to empty it out, right? Sometimes shit will happen in your life, and it dumps the contents of the jar all over the place, and you have to kind of pick it all back up and put it in, but don't put it in the same way as it was before. If you weren't happy with that, if that jar was unbalanced, right? But also from a nutritional standpoint, we need to start looking at the macros of our food. How do I use the food that I have available to me right now? What can I afford? What's there? What's accessible? Okay? And then we can start to improve upon that after we learn that. But if we start looking at organic and, what's more costly and like all of these boutique and all of these marketing campaigns that are out there and these trends, they're total crap because we don't know how to use any of them, and they're premature. We got to learn how to use the basics of the food first. We got to learn the fundamentals: a calorie, a protein, a fat, a carbohydrate. Drink your water. Go for a walk. Those things. Those are your golf balls. Put those in the jar. All right? And then you can start looking further. Then you can go deeper with it. Then you can add the rocks, the sand, and then the beer. But those things, if they're put in out of order, again, not to sound like a broken record, but it's going to be really frustrating, and there's going to be stuff that's not going to fit. And you're going to try and make it fit, and it's either going to break the jar or the jar is going to tip over, and you're going to have to start all over again. Understood? So this is what insight is all about. It's about tying everything together. It's not about giving you the tools and not teaching you how to use them. And it's not even about giving you the tools and teaching you how to use them. It's going one step even further than that. It's giving you the passion and drive and understanding that you want to use the tools, that you're actually building something, that you've got something that you want to build, something that drives you, gives you the impetus to pick up the tools and get up and go to work every day, because you're building something amazing, something that's incredible, something that's important to you, right? So this is insight, everybody, right? This is a great video, and I really appreciate some feedback. Let me know that you've watched it. Send a thumbs up, right? But this is what everybody is missing. And, I work with people one-on-one. I've worked with people for decades now. And if you don't get this, then it doesn't keep going, right? It stops eventually, and you end up going back, and you end up gaining your way back. You end up having this incredible opportunity and just wasting it because you didn't do this kind of work. You didn't do the soul searching. You didn't connect the dots, okay? Anyway, everybody, have a great day. Keep up with the check-ins, but participate, all right? This is your health. This is your life. And you're the one that's got to, you're the one that's got to make this happen. No one's going to do it for you. Thanks.